First, though, to the increasing pressure on Erik ten Hag after Manchester United suffered a humbling 3-0 home defeat to Tottenham, which leaves them 12th in the Premier League, closer to the relegation zone than the top four. We can cross live to Old Trafford now and speak to our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy. Good to see you, Melissa. What's Manchester United's position then on ten Hag as it stands right now?
Yeah, Erik ten Hag retains the full backing of Manchester United's football leadership structure, while there has been consensus that non-performance in the 3-0 humiliation against Tottenham here at Old Trafford on Sunday is unacceptable. There's no immediate plans to change the manager because the hierarchy are focusing on giving ten Hag, his backroom staff, and the players their full support to try and turn their fortunes around. So ten Hag expected to still be in charge for those very tough tests against Porto and Aston Villa this week ahead of an international break.
Look, Melissa, given that there was that strategic review in the summer as well, is this far too early for this kind of talk, do you feel?
I actually think the strategic review, because it dragged on for so long and entailed speaking to a variety of managers about actually the potential of replacing Erik ten Hag, it meant that as soon as there was the first sign of trouble this season, there was going to be increasing pressure and noise around his position. Because while Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford decided to stick with ten Hag, there'll always be that feeling that they couldn't have had full conviction in him if they were canvassing managers around Europe about taking over. And that list included Thomas Tuchel, Roberto De Zerbi, Maurizio Pochettino, Kieran McKenna, Thomas Frank, amongst others. And then ahead of the Liverpool game, which was here at Old Trafford at the start of this month, I sat down with sporting director Dan Ashworth and CEO Omar Barada, and they told us that while they actually weren't involved in the decision to retain ten Hag after that strategic review, because they actually hadn't joined the club yet at that point, that the pair enjoy working with him and they believe he is the right man for the job. And then yesterday, ten Hag told us that he's not worried about his future at all. He's not thinking about that because the powers that be and him, they're all in this together. They've made decisions about him staying on board, about the recruitment. They're all very aligned. But the reality is, if dismal performances like the one we saw against Tottenham continue, the club will actually be forced to act.
Yeah, and you say that as well, and it's another critical week, isn't it? 2 tough away fixtures before, of course, an international break.
Yeah, ten Hag has become so accustomed to critical weeks at Manchester United, and I mean none more so than in the build-up to the FA Cup final, where the noise around him being sacked was actually turned all the way up on that volume scale. And we then know what happened at Wembley against Manchester City. They pulled out the performance of their lives. And ten Hag has actually been quite skilled in extracting those kind of displays when his job needs it the most. But Porto and an informed Aston Villa are actually very daunting challenges, especially in the context of how poor ten Hag's European record has been in charge of United. He's only won 1 of the last 10 fixtures on the continent. And then Villa, they're on a 4-match unbeaten run in the league. And when you think about United and how they've been struggling to score, with only 19th place Southampton worse off in that regard, it doesn't make for comforting reading ahead of an international break, especially with the team so low on confidence. And the intriguing thing is that actually ahead of this capitulation against Spurs that I was here for yesterday, speaking to people at the club, they were feeling positive because they thought that United's attacking metrics and their defensive ones had improved. We showcased the numbers actually on Sky Sports as well about all the areas that they were showing improvement in, and that actually they were underachieving by those figures. They should have been higher up in the table, potentially like around 3rd or 4th. But then when you watch a performance like the one against Tottenham, where all the familiar bad habits come to the fore, the lack of pressure against the ball, being so easy to play against, losing any sort of control of themselves and the situation, then it does lead to wider questions. And if that kind of display continues, then like I said, the managerial landscape might have not changed since that strategic review, which doesn't give United many options. I mean, the only fresh one since then is Gareth Southgate, and the club are very aware that that would not elicit a positive reaction from the United fans if they went to hire Gareth Southgate. So while the landscape hasn't changed much, if those kind of performances continue, United have to make a decision regardless of what options are out there or not.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Thank you very much, Melissa.